Well, hi and welcome to another podcast. As you may hear, I'm out by the coast today. I've took a trip out to the Yorkshire Coast and having to go at a bit of saltwater fly fishing. I've come out to Filey Brigg, which is a large outcrop of rock that juts out off the east coast. It's a beautiful sunny day. I've got my 9-weight outfit with a floating line, an intermediate poly leader and a little chartreuse and white sand eel imitation. I'm going to fish the south side of the Brigg. The north side, there's too much of a swell on today. That's where most of the anglers fish, on the north side, but I've come to the south side. It's a lot calmer and it faces out towards Filey Bay. I can see the beach and the houses. There's a few boats out in the bay as well. The fishing isn't meant to be as good on this side, however, I think there's a chance of a small school bass or even a mackerel if I can get a long enough line out. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how we get on. The wind's just on the wrong side for me actually here, but so I can get a fairly long line out with this 9-weight, and then I'm going to just strip this sand eel imitation in. It's rocky ground here, which I believe shelves off onto a sandier area. Well, I've got a nice easy back cast. I cast in about 30 feet of line, something like that, 30 or 40 feet of line. The tide's going out at the minute. There's a little bit of colour in the water, but nothing too bad. And there's not too much weed either, which is good. Weed can be a problem obviously when you're fly fishing, but there's not too much weed here. And the wind's behaving itself too. It didn't take long to get wet feet, did it? Let's move back a bit. There's always that one rogue wave that comes and soaks you. I've been fishing 5 minutes and already got wet feet. So the tide's heading out and I've got about 2 hours fishing here until low tide. And then at low tide I've really got to make my way back up the Brigg because there is a chance of getting cut off here. So I'll make my way back up and then I'll fish the incoming tide from a little higher up if I can. Try and get a little more line out. Better cast. Well, it's a beautiful sunny day. You can see for quite a way. There's a few fishing boats out in Filey Bay bobbing around, and there's some cormorants working in the bay as well, which is always a good sign. I can see the flag sticking off some of the buoys where there's some crab or lobster pots located. So I think a fish today would be a result. I've done a lot of saltwater fly fishing, mainly in North Wales and on the south coast in South Wales and further up in Scotland as well, but I've never done anything on the east coast. And I know there's pollock here on the Brigg. I know that they catch bass from time to time, and I know even there's mackerel, there's wrasse, there's coalfish. So I don't see why there isn't a chance of picking one up on the fly. I just need a bit of luck. and I can't see any reason, looking at this ground here, there's boulder strewn, we're covered in kelp, why there wouldn't be the chance of a little school bass working up the Brigg and feeding on some of the small bait fish and crab and bits of food. And the water is a bit of colour to it, but nothing too bad. And in fact, I've had most of my success saltwater fly fishing when there has been some colour in the water. So I'll give it a good shot, give it my best and see what we can do. Be a bit of a workout as well, and I could do with losing a bit of timber at the minute. Let me get back onto this big rock. When I do come out and saltwater fly fish, I tend to fish it very hard. I'm going to fish for a good 7 or 8 hours today. Really put the time in, and just see if we can get something. I think I'd just like to prove, not other people wrong, but prove to myself that, you know, the East Coast here is worth a shot. I really don't mind what I catch or what size it is, any fish. I think we'll have a go on this south side of the Brigg, and then I'm going to have a wander around as well and see if I can fish on the north side as well, see if I can find a bit of deeper water and maybe put a heavy sinking line on and try and get down over some of the rocky gullies. At the minute, it's a better cast. Often when I'm fishing for bass, I'm putting this fairly short casts out, but with the ground I'm on at the minute, and I'm really thinking of the schoolies or even a mackerel, I'm really trying to belt this line out as far as I can. I think I'd be very lucky to get a mackerel. I think they prefer the slightly deeper water than I'm in, but I think I'm getting far enough out for a school bass that would be working up these shores. In fact, there's a fishing boat here. He's putting his nets out right on the shore. It looks like he's just about to net where I'm fishing. Let's hope he pushes some fish up towards me. I can't think what he'll be what he's fishing for, because as far as I'm aware, bass are well, I know for us recreational anglers, bass have got to all be returned if you catch one, but I thought for commercial boats, I thought all commercial bass fishing was off limits, but maybe there are some exceptions. I can't think what else I'll be fishing for this close in. Right, I'm just going to move down the rocks with the tide, and I think I'll have another 10 minutes, 15 minutes here, and then I'll try some different spots. But if the guy with the fishing boat thinks he's going to get a fish with his nets, then I've got a chance to get one with my fly. Could just do with getting a longer cast out, and it's nothing to do with the rod. It's my line that I'm shooting keeps getting caught round the kelp. That's a bit better. I think that's where I need to be. I need to get a longer cast. I'm just going to let this fly sink a little. I know a lot of people use a line tray to overcome this problem. I just can't stand the thing. Really. Just can't stand line trays. Right, he set his nets out. I don't know much about small net fishing like that, but I don't know whether he drags them round or brings them straight in or leaves them for an hour. I've got no idea, so I'll keep one eye on him and I'll see what he does. He's attached his nets to basically near the rocks at one end of it, and then to a buoy at the other, and looks like he's scooting off. He's coming back in now. He's been out and he's played with a bit of rope, and now he's coming back in. So let's see what he's doing now. Right, I'm going to wind in. I'm going to have a little walk and might just nip over the north side and see what's happening over there, and try a different spot, I think. It's a bit treacherous, these rocks, trying to pick your way over. Some of them are nice and grippy with the little barnacles that are covers, and others are slimy and weedy, and if you're not careful you can easily lose your footing. Alright, let me get back to some easier ground, and then a quick check of the time, and we'll see the state of the tide and see how long I've got left to work this end of the brig before I start moving back in. What I'm hoping is after lunch, the tide moving back in, I can fish some of the rockier gullies as the tide's ripping through, and hopefully there's a chance of a fish moving up the gullies and feeding, but it all depends on the swell. It's too much on that other side. Let's have a little walk up here. Right, try and fish through those gullies there, look. So I'm just walking back up the brig and I can see a few more sheltered gullies being exposed now, so I'm going to head down there. It's nice and kelpy, and strip a fly back through there. Right, quick sit rep. I come round to the north side of the brig and I found a little gully to have a cast in, and I've just had a little fish, but unfortunately the podcast wasn't recording, so I'm going to try again and drop this in and see if there's anything else lurking out in here. And actually took the fly on the drop, and there's a little, oh, and another tug then. The only problem is they've got a lot of kelp. This looks a likely spot. Oh, and another tug then. I'll just take this off here because it's going to be... So what we've got here is there's a little reef that's a barrier between me and the sea. So although it's huge waves crashing out there, there's just a bit of shelter, and there's a lot of kelp in this little pool, and safe to say I'm pleased as punch, and that's mission accomplished. But it really took me by surprise because I'd not pressed record on the podcast or anything. Typical really. But this is round the north side. I've had a good walk round, and the south side, I don't know, I've just not got the confidence there. It didn't seem fishy, whereas this just looks and feels a bit more fishy. And I'll keep probing this now, because I imagine as the tide rips up this gully, there'll be some more fish moving up. Oh, just kelp there, I think. The other thing this side as well is the wind's a bit better. The wind on the other side's really causing me a headache. I've just got to bear in mind the tides here, but I've got a nice escape behind me. It's just making sure that these waves aren't, at some point they're going to crash over this reef, and I'm going to have to move back, but we're all right for now. I'm absolutely pleased as punch with that fish. Like I said when I first started the podcast, a fish today would be a result, and we've had one, so now, of course, you've had one, you want another. And if there's one in here, there must be some more. Not got the easiest place to stand, that's a bit better. What I thought originally was maybe putting an even smaller fly on and trying for a few blennies, but this rod will be a little too heavy for those. And as this gully fills up, it's going to be tremendous fishing. Now, we'll stay here for the rest of the day. Now I've found what I was looking for. We'll slipping down the rock here. We'll stay here. Yay! We're in again. There we are. Here he goes. Right, the tide's turning now and coming in, so I'm just going to make my way off this rock. You can see another boat that's a little further out. Looks like they're probably fishing for some bass just off the rocks there, but I would not fancy being out there. So what I'm hoping is as the tide floods in this gully, I'm hoping that we're going to get one or two fish that's going to run up. Not the most comfortable place to stand, actually. I'm really having to balance on the rocks. I'll let this sink a bit. The two I've had have been, I think they've been quite deep. They seem to have been quite deep, and I suspect this gully's very deep. And it's only obviously going to get deeper as the tide's flooding in, so. I would have thought there's a chance of a wrasse off here when it's just a little baby one that's just sheltering. Fishing boats out just off the rocks here. I put quite a lot of research into where I wanted to come actually today, and initially I was going to try some of the beaches south of Mablethorpe, which are good for school bass, but I was slightly put off just by the murky water. Whereas on the north side of the Brigg here, and even further up on the south side, the water's a lot clearer. Plus there's a diverse species here. There's wrasse, there's pollock, there's coalfish, mackerel, bass, codling, although they're not really going to count on the fly, but there's a bit of a swell getting up now, so I think it may be time for me to just back up the rocks a touch. By the looks of it, yep, here it comes. Here we are. I've got a lovely escape back to me, and I feel very safe here, very confident that I'm okay. I can see a clear path back out off the rocks. Very, very important to learn about when the tides are going to be changing and where your cut-off points are, where your escape points are if you do get into trouble. And like I say, I've got a collar life jacket on as well, self-inflator, in case I do just happen to get caught by a wave, but I'm hoping I never put myself in that position. Right, it's a bit of a game of chess this. I'm having to hop from rock to rock as the tide's working in, and just keep checking behind me that I'm safe. And this gully's filling up really nicely now. Getting this line a bit wetter, it's just gone a bit salty and dry. Just try and drop it in that rock pool there. kelp again. That's better, the line's a bit wetter. Oh, just trod on it. And we're in again. There we are. A bit bigger this time. Just rest him in the water. Well, thank you so much for listening. As ever, if you want to buy any of the flies featured in this podcast, the saltwater flies, it's shop.peaksflyfishing.com. And for fly fishing coaching, it's www.peaksflyfishing.com. Until next time, bye bye.